Hi, my name is Meg Edwards, and I am a GTD coach, and we're doing a series on GTD for beginners. And this is part two of the weekly review, which, as many people have learned, is the critical success factor to the Getting Things Done methodology. And one of the things that I've experienced with the weekly review is that if you're not fully installed with GTD, meaning if you haven't fully set up everything, it's tough to go through the weekly review because you haven't finished all the capturing, clarifying, and organizing part of the installation part of GTD so that you can stay clean and current, which is what the weekly review does, so that you can be in that place of creativity and not be in the busy trap dealing with the latest and the loudest. So what I thought I would do is just really kind of ease people into what I think sometimes are kind of the easiest lists and the easiest parts of the weekly review to kind of get a grip on, so that as you build into sometimes some of the more challenging parts of the weekly review, although I don't want to necessarily plant the seed that any part of the weekly review is challenging, that you can eventually get through the whole weekly review in a way that works for you, and to do a weekly review as often as you find that it would be helpful to stay clean and current. So in the last video, I tackled the calendar part of the Get Current, which is two parts: to review the previous calendar data and the upcoming calendar data and the waiting for. Today, I want to talk about still staying in the Get Current part of the weekly review, where the first step is to clean up and get your actions list current. But the two lists that I want to talk about in that section is agendas and errands. And then I'm going to talk about checklists. So these are two other steps to the weekly review in the Get Current section. So let's talk about agendas. Some people are kind of like, they think that agendas is something that's like, it's really for those formal meetings. But if you don't like the word agendas, you can use the word talk to, or people, or conversation. But it's those things that you need to talk to people about, whether it's in person, on the phone, via Zoom or Teams meeting or whatever you use. And usually, if you've had that experience of, oh, I forgot to ask them this, it kind of warrants, setting up your agenda section. Doctor's appointments with your things that you need to talk to your coworkers about, your partner about, your kids about, the contractor about, anybody that you feel like you have a couple of things or even one thing that you need to talk to them about. It's really useful because it's so much more efficient and effective to just talk about those things when you see that person than to leave and say, oh, I forgot to ask them. So if you haven't set up your agendas, this is an opportunity to set it up so that when you do your next weekly review, you can get your agendas list current again. The second list that some people benefit from is the errands list, or things that you need to do when you're out and about. Again, have you had that experience where you were maybe in a section of your town or city and you come home and you're like, oh, if I had just gone 2 stores down, I could have also done that. I certainly have experienced that, and it's just so not efficient and effective. So some people visit some places on a frequent basis. So the pharmacy or the hardware store or some of those favorite stores, specialty stores, where you get things. That's an opportunity, again, if you don't have that, to set that up and then get that current so that when you come into your next weekly review and you review your errands list, it won't take that long to add things or take things off and get that list current so that you're very efficient and effective when you're out and about doing errands. Or if you do online shopping, you can have a list of online, and again, keep that current as often as you need to. The third thing that I wanted to talk about was checklists, which is the last step in the Get Current section of the weekly review. And a lot of people are like, well, what are you talking about here? Well, you either have checklists or you don't. And I think the easiest one, for example, is the travel checklist. So let's say that you're doing your weekly review, you have already gone to your upcoming calendar, and you see a trip coming, and you're like, oh, let me look at my travel checklist to see if there's anything that I need to get before that trip. I have checklists For example, I share a house with my sister and we open and we close it. And so here we are in May, and actually we're going down this weekend to open the house. And I would look at the open house checklist to see if there are things that I need to do to take with me or whatever it is, so that I'm opening the house again in the most efficient and effective way. When my daughter was younger and birthday parties were coming up, I would look at my birthday party checklist because there were just so many like little things that I need to do. I have checklists for sports that I do, so that when I'm going to go kayaking, I may look at a kayaking checklist, because there's nothing worse than forgetting something and you're out there kayaking. So, these are things that you can kind of create over time. It's very organic. You may have work checklists that you need to be looking at on a reoccurring basis, monthly, quarterly, yearly. And so what I find more is that sometimes people are like, oh, I've always wanted to create that checklist and I haven't done it. So when you come into the weekly review, it's always going to be there as an option to look at your checklist. And if you don't have any, or if you don't need it, or you don't have to, get it current, every week, then, this is something that's optional, but it's something that can help you stay current by creating checklists. So those are 3 more things that you might want to either create if you haven't created them, or to get them current with this part of the weekly review. So I will continue to do more steps on the weekly review on the get current part. Then I probably am going to jump down to the get creative part, and then I'm going to go to the get current part, which is what really trips people up, which is getting all your ends to zero on a regular basis. And that will be a whole nother video. So all the best with this part of the weekly review, and I'll see you on the next video. For more GTD resources, please visit gettingthingsdone.com and David Allen's YouTube channel. For more information on GTD coaching, please email us at info@gtdfocus.com or visit our website at gtdfocus.com.